this could take an hour.
That's okay.
So unload choke clear, chambers clear, feed trays clear,
Okay.
T-slots clear. If you bump this, keep your fingers out of here. That will take your fingernail off in a heartbeat. But the back plate, safety's on. Drive rod, the spring comes out. Bolt's gonna disassemble off a stop stud. There's your bolt. I'm gonna grab a tool. Just something round. What we're doing is we're going through here.
All right.
We're going to depress that. Well, we're stuck, but that's the basic. That's your lock frame, or your trigger group. This is your lock frame. This is your bolt. Bolt fits in to this guide slot here. You see a locking block as we rotate.
Lots of moving parts.
Oh yeah, lots of greasy moving parts too. If we get this thing out, I'll show you how to take it apart completely. That's it. There's your gun. Now this is a box.
How you doing?
This just holds all this
those
to
pieces.
fit in here, and that's all it does. It just holds those parts. You can actually fire this thing independently of being in this box, but you'd have no way to hold the ammunition into the...
Interesting. And this plate that you did all those, I remember all the grooves that were on here all knocked off.
Yep. Yeah, we took those off. We had to populate the two left and right side plates, put rivets in there, which took a little bit of time because we had to
Those
order
pieces that I didn't have, they were these, right?
trunnion pads.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not familiar with the verbiage, so you showed me the last time what they look like.
They're these guys here. Right. And what they do is they go in. We had to do.
So machining work and
It was never assembled. I could literally everything on here was either off a demilled gun or
it's a new
it was
part.
like new old stock that was like, yeah, I get the idea, but that's never been fit to a gun before, and it's almost there, but it.
It's a lot of extra work.
All the bugs are worked out of it. You don't have to worry about being a guinea pig when you're out there, because most importantly, when you're gonna pull this thing out, do plan like 45 minutes, because everybody, where'd you get it? How much did it cost? What does it do? What do I do to get one? Can I watch you shoot it? Can I shoot it? Can I? So
I'm sure.
yeah. So you don't. Last thing you want to do is pull the thing out and go click.
Nope.
So we're gonna go through group by group and show you how things come apart, how things can go back together the wrong way. So you don't want to do that.
Right.
So this is basically the box. This will really never change. We're not going to take anything apart further than here. You see that little tiny crack there?
Right there, yep.
Let me see, somebody's repaired it with stainless.
Okay.
That's common. It's very common.
What's that from? Just
There's two ways you can form rivets. There's a cast iron trunnion on the bottom. You can either crimp them or you can heat them up and hot form them. We hot form them. If you do that, there's less chance of you distorting this and pinching these things too tight.
okay.
Back when the military did them, they just,
Pounding them in.
yeah, who cares? If it breaks, we make another one. You know, it's going to war service. If it gets blown up, I don't care. And that's how they were built. So it's very common to see this front one on this side and on this other side cracked through. These plates also do take a warp like that. We put on here, so you don't have to worry about things. Because when you build one of these things, the difference between one that's put together and then someone that, I'll show you a registered full auto that was brought in. Show you a capsule that somebody brought in, $35,000. Hey, good morning. So you'll have to get rid of this if you get rid of your SOT. Or we can put a new plate on.
Well, at that point, I'll probably be dead, so I'm not worried about it.
I don't have to deal with it.
Oh, my wife will have to.
So anyway, this is called your accelerator. That pin that holds it in is the same pin here that holds your bolt in.
Alright, so they're both one and the same, so you can't mix them up.
No, it doesn't matter. You can put this thing in backwards, so you do want to put it in the right direction. There's your accelerator spring that comes out. Your trigger pin's in through here, but we don't need to take that out.
That stays in, right?
Yeah. That's actually the detent we were pushing on.
Alright, so it's got it's spring loaded in there. Alright.
It's not coming out. It's not going to fly out at you, but it is through.
Oh, we had enough accidents with that.
I got one in the Ford yesterday.
1911.
Breaking it down.
They sent back the wrong spring plug.
Oh. So this thing on a 1919 will go through the sheetrock at this distance. Yeah. So when they built this one, the product improved in 1954. They said, "Hey, let's put it captive so it doesn't fly out and stick you in the face because you're taking it apart." So that's trigger group. This is your lock frame. This is what actually contains the barrel and holds headspace with the spring here.
Okay.
So that's pretty simple, but you can put this block in any number of ways. And you think, okay, which is the right way? It's got to go in this way here because it mates the angle to the angle.
Alright, as I said, there's an angle on the top front.
Square on the back, angle on the front. You can't put opposite, right? And you can't put it upside down because it won't even fit from that direction.
Right.
Now, a true M37 block would be double beveled. Beveled this in, beveled this in, beveled this in, beveled this in. And you could literally put it in this way or this way.
Alright.
This is a 1919 block. It won't make any difference. It's what you gave me. It'll work just fine. Don't worry about it. Don't try to go find a replacement. Yeah, we need that. Thank you. And your bolt, last piece.
And those direction feeds or whatever you want to call them, they don't come out easily. They're pretty much in
Well,
there.
they're pinned in
They're
with
pinned.
a roll
All right.
pin,
All right,
so they're not going to
coming
pop
out.
right
Right.
out. And unless you're going to change the feed direction, there's no change. Now, each one of these is exactly the same. So whether you put this one on this side and this one on that side,
No different.
or move this one here, put this one here, it's the same. It's not going to matter. But you do need to set it up for the
Proper direction.
yeah. But it shouldn't be something you ever
Let me
change.
just set up the way it's going to be fed from the left.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's the most common. It's your cocking finger. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work over a small spot here.
That's okay.
I don't have a lot of room. that can go in that way or that way. Now if you pin it in this direction, it'll actually cock the firing pin. It'll actually cock the firing pin back open. It's missing metal on that side, so if you put it in that way, it's not going to cock the firing pin. See that? So that's one of those pieces next to that block that you could put in the wrong direction, and then you're going to find out things don't work. But there are not that many things that you can put in backwards. When they did the 60, they said, hey, let's just put everything in so we can put it in backwards. So like most of the parts you can put in backwards, this thing still runs. This one is not. But if you get those little idiosyncrasies out of the way, you should be fine. You shouldn't have any issues. There's your firing pin. That's going to sit through and provide you spring pressure. And your sear is going to sit here. That's the orientation of that. So that's actually hooking up here. When you pull the trigger, it drops and goes forward. And it provides spring pressure off that little tip right there. So the way you put that back together, drop your firing pin in. It's got to be at 6 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. Grab something like a small flat blade. That's going to ride up, and we're going to catch
right there.
Back to straight. This is going to go in
the little tip backwards.
Yep. And you can line it up off that hole. Pen can only go in flush one side, right? Cocking would be forward, fired position for the back. Cocks when it goes forward again. That's that. That's pretty much it. So the way you'd set headspace, spring. I don't feel like dropping it anymore, so.
There you go. Now it's in there, not coming out. All right.
It'll be somebody else's problem. So usually you set this thing and you count like X amount of clicks out, and that would be your headspace point. And as long as you don't change this, this, or this, that's always going to stay the same number. But you change this, this, or this, and it could be +1
or
-1, and you wonder like, well, where's the edge? If that's go on headspace, 1, 2, 3. Don't open it more than 3. You'll separate a headspace. You'll separate a case. But where you'll run into problems is if you use like surplus ammunition and headspace runs, and then on the other ones it runs, and you're running 15 rounds of this, 10 rounds of that, 3 rounds of that. It's going to be all over the place, and you're going to wonder where the failure is. Why is it not working? Your headspace keeps changing, your links, and stick with the same cartridge. Don't stick a belt together with 50 different types of ammunition, because then where's the fail point? I don't know. It's
right now I have a bunch strung, but it's all same ammo, one string.
Yes, do that. Don't do one string of shells with 15 different types of shells throughout there, because then where's the failing point? I don't know. Is it the gun? Is it the link? Do I use the wrong links? Did I use something not set up correctly? You're going to be chasing a ghost, because these disintegrating links will disintegrate, end up in the pile, and then it's gone. So when you set headspace, that's the distance that you're trying to set. You're trying to keep that at a set distance, because you get out larger than that, you're going to have a case failure, right? If you hold up with your finger, you can feel it get resistance. I don't know if you want to try it.
So like I'm like the detail, like that resistance. So is that coming from that, or is it
That's
coming?
coming from that, but you can't go back any further because you're now
I'm
contacting.
hitting something.
Yeah, you're hitting the T slot.
Mm.
That's called the T slot. So even if there's no belt sitting here, there could be a round linked down into the barrel, right?
So what's the ideal? Going up to where you feel it touch? Or?
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that feel, right?
Like right now, I bottomed out, so I can't hit that last little detent. So I back.
Yeah. So I'll show you what to check for. So you'd be checking this with this gauge, this headspace gauge. One side's going to say no go, the other says go. And I'm not holding up on it because there's no cam there. But if you want to push up on that, perfect.
That just keeps the bolt from going backwards.
Exactly. Keeps the whole thing locked up. See it? We get a little resistance on that end. There's go. Won't go. That's what you're checking for. You need that distance right there.
So is that good then? Or
I think you're good. I think we're going to mark that with a witness mark, with a center punch mark, and then you'll know where your headspace is. So you don't need the gauge.
so that means then wherever this mark you're gonna put on there, that's where the barrel will have to be turned to.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good there. That's actually real good. So we'll set that for your headspace. Now, there's another thing too called timing. Because this is going to have a fixed trigger point. So as that bolt passes that fixed trigger, that's where it sets off. And then it goes back into recoil, recycles, rechambers, recocks, everything. And then it slides back forward. It's going to hit that fixed timing point. The Israelis stuck an adjustment screw here so you could adjust that timing. Yours is brand new and it still times fine, so we're just going to leave it. We're not going to worry about a screw. That screw on any of the other ones at all would be this.
All right.
Everybody says, oh, that's where you mount the spring for the return spring on a semi-automatic. No, that's the timing point for adjustable timing on.
So what would cause that to go out of sync?
Parts
Just
wear.
wear out?
It's 80 years old.
Yeah. No, I understand. So, but probably for the amount of time I'm going to use it, I may never have to worry about that. But if we do...
Well, these will hurt you. 50s will kill you. That little one behind you, that thing goes out of time, will literally kill you from this distance. These will hurt you. I've almost had my finger broke when I had my finger on the trigger, and they're out of time. And I've literally U'd the top cover on mine. Nothing to take lightly.
No, so, but how do you know that it's coming out of time?
That's that in there. So I'm going to show you how to check for time. Now, you don't have to go buy the gauge if you don't want the gauge, but this is going to show you what it does. Nice. Yeah, the 50 cal? I have like 34 of those to build here. So this is a 50 caliber timing gauge. Headspace, timing, right? Just ignore this block in the middle because that's something I threw on there so I don't lose it. But you see how this resembles a lot? You go to the gun show all the time and somebody else try to sell you one of these things and they say, oh yeah, it's for a 30 caliber Browning. It's a headspace gauge. Because see, it says 30 caliber Browning machine gun timing gauge. Well, this is actually made up of 3 parts. There's a drawing number for that part. There's the drawing number for that part. There's the drawing number for that part. On a chain, it's 3 parts. It's not this, but everybody confuses it because it looks, right? That single leaf alone whether it be 30 or 50 cal, is the exact same 20 thousandths fire. That is not. One's 116, one's 074, right? So don't go buy one of these thinking, oh yeah, it's this 30 caliber Browning. It'll fit on my Browning at home. That one leaf will, but you won't need the rest of it.
Yeah.
You see how this...
Yeah.
I'm trying to save you some trouble so you don't go buy one.
I understand.
Because you turn around and wonder, like, the guy that I want to go find at the gun show, why isn't he there again? Because he's never coming back.
And it's what? Just to confirm, it was one set. It was...
That's a full set for a 30 caliber.
Just so it's...
That's a full set for a 50.
.074.
That's no-go.
0.20. 0.020. So... Oh, that's cool. That's a no fire. Fire, alright. So I have references.
So the way you check headspace on one of these things, or timing, is you go between the trunnion and the front of that lock frame there, where that gap opened up. And you'll insert this gauge without slamming it down on it. If you slam them, you crack them. They're hardened steel. Just gonna pinch in place like that. If you pull the trigger and that thing fires, you're gonna blow up your gun if you try to shoot it. So that's good. We'll put the narrow one in. That should click. So you're in time.
Fucking not much difference.
Okay. So
No.
if that hammer drops when the other one's in,
Yeah.
that's...
Don't shoot the gun. You do it on a 50 cal. Go take a look at the YouTube video. You will kill yourself. If you got Kevlar on, you're gonna kill yourself.
I'm just saying, like, when you put the no-go in and it actually, like, it trips over, that's definitely bad.
Don't shoot.
Yeah, if you keep all these parts with this gun, the chances of you developing an out-of-time situation are slim to none ever in the next 20, 30
How often
years.
should you check it?
I wouldn't ever worry about it again.
Okay.
On a 50 cal, you can, it has that timing screw adjustment. You can change timing on that. On these, they were fixed timing, unless there was an adaptation made.
So there's really no reason to have to do this again unless I change parts.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm telling you, you don't need to go buy this gauge, but I'm
Just
showing
showing
you, so you proofed it with your own eyes. You can see why it works, why it works, and why you don't want to buy this one. Because if you do, you'll get home and find out you have no use for it unless you have one of them. So anyway, I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to show you, I'm going to witness mark the barrel so you have,
For
yeah.
head spacing. And that obviously gets done every time if you were just simple to clean it.
Yeah.
To
You
make
can
sure
get about 4,000 or 5,000 rounds through these before they really need to be cleaned.
that'll probably more than it's ever getting shot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sharp edges on this thing. I did hit this with a file. You can't even tell. But
Well, I remember when I was just handling the plates. They're knuckle
better.
busters.
They're better. But don't drag your finger across. As you get to be familiar with it, there's nothing except for me having to get the safety unstuck when I whacked it because I pulled it into the safety. Everything should come apart without the use of a mallet. Everything should be by hand. No forcing, no having to. But try to find out where all the sharp edges are before. I'd hate to see you trash your hands in something.
That'd be
It
the
would
first
not
time.
be, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. We're hard on 12.
So all the way in,
All the way in,
and
and then just go out till you
then
hit
to the
that.
notch. All right.
Now that's where it should stay for headspace. So if you don't want to go buy a gauge, then go buy a gauge. Now where you're gonna shear cases, 1, 2, 3. Don't go any tighter than that, right?
So really, I mean, I'll keep it right this all the time. Why would I have to move that? Is if, depending on...
You want to punch the barrel, clean it out.
No, I'm not saying that, but I mean, why would I, obviously cleaning it, but saying, why would I change...
Why did they adjust it?
Why would I have to adjust the head spacing? I mean, other than just to clean it, like to take it apart, put it back together. I mean, to go a notch or two in either direction.
Because cartridges
different
are
cartridges.
supposed to run, but Winchester typically runs, all Winchester cases runs heavy with the headspace.
All right. And how would you know that other than just once you're shooting it?
Because when you try to charge your gun and the bolt goes forward, it doesn't close all the way.
All right.
And you know, it might not happen, like it might be a 1 in 10, it might be a 1 in 100, 1 in 50, but if it starts doing 1 every 3, all right, let's pump it open 1 click. I'm not going to blow up the gun, just to let you know where that line is that you don't want to cross.
All right.
Just so you know, like, oh, you know, is the whole thing going to grenade on me?
Understood.
It's not going to grenade on you. You can safely click out to about 3 clicks. That's the edge. Don't go past 3.
Right.
But the chances of you having to go even past 1 are slim to none. But then you don't know if it's British surplus, South African surplus, Greek surplus.
Understood.
Greeks made their own gun, or the Brits made their own gun. I mean, French, Germans, they would make their
There's
own
no
ammunition.
issue running modern day. All right.
No.
We usually don't touch surplus anyway.
Well, just sometimes tough to get. I mean,
Yeah, well, this should eat everything you throw through it.
Right.
But like I said before at the beginning, I'm going to throw a lot at you. Some of it's going to stick, some of it's not.
That's all
Well,
right.
that's why we have a video so I can back reference this shit.
But I know nothing here is going to be out of place. So when you call me, you'll be the eyes on that end of the phone, and I'll be the hands on this end. And if you have a basic cursory understanding of how the parts come in and how the parts go back together, you should be able to handle anything over the phone without having to travel all the way over here. Because the last thing I want you to do is go to a machine gun shoot, take it out of the range, guns down. Guns doesn't run.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's going to have to do with understanding how links work and how things work.
Mm-hmm.
If you set the gun up wrong, it's just going to run wrong. Doesn't matter who you are. But we'll try to eliminate as much friction as possible. It doesn't have any idiosyncrasies outside of those couple of parts that have to go in.
Just your interactions.
Yeah, it's not going to be fussy for you. It's not going to run sometimes or not. It should eat everything like a garbage disposal. So there you got a witness mark, so you know your headspace is going to be set. Let's just say it's the end of the year, you're doing a final tear down and clean, and you're doing that for the last time of the year. This is where you're going to follow this procedure every single time, no matter what. There's a little detent you've got to overcome here, right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is going to sit there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an inspection window. It's going to draw in and out only there. So we got to line everything up. And we're trying to hit that spot in the bolt. And this can only go in one direction. See, the ends are different.
Yep.
That's going to fit in the inspection hole there. We want to make sure these line up. So I'm going to do it from this end because I don't want it to.
Just push it into that hole.
Yay, we moved.
Well, I moved.
I learned yesterday.
That one's not so bad. The 1919s are worse. The 50 ones are that big.
Mm.
You want to see something really launch across the room. There we go. All the way forward so you're not fighting a spring weight.
I'm just trying to see where.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see where it goes into. All right, so there's the hole. All right, perfect. So I know what I'm looking for.
There's a keyway down the side of the bolt.
That's where that little
That's
cross
where
member.
that's going to go in.
All right.
So so you can't insert it like this way or this way. It's got to go in same side out, same side out.
All right.
And those don't.
Don't just twist. All right.
They're captive. They learned a lot on the 1919s. If you got one of these things down pat, you're gonna have a 1919 down like nothing. You'll understand exactly how that thing works. There we go.
All right. Easy.
Got a safe fire and a safe. If you have this on safe,
Won't go.
you're not going to get it past the rod. So do have it on fire.
Okay.
That's it. You're in. Now you can put it on safe. But you won't be able to draw it up because it won't
Safe will hit.
clear the bottom of the housing. So remember what we'd said before. If you're going to do this and you're like, let's say, whether you're cleaning it for the summer, for the first time out, cleaning it for the winter, for the last time going back in, you've got all your tools. If you're going to drop any parts, you're going to have them right here. Hands are dirty, you got your rag, you got everything out. This is where you're going to do this every single time. Charge your gun. Fired. I'm going to hold the trigger down. It fired. Do that every single time. Make sure you're linking. Make sure everything works. Now, while your hands are dirty, if you've dropped any parts, you've done it right here, your tools are out, your rag, everything's here. Don't put this back in the rack, because if you do without doing this function test, well then 6 months later, what was I doing? What was I working on? Where are all my parts? Everything's moved now. The bench is cleaned off. This way, everything that's going to be here is going to be here now. There's a 99.9% chance you take this thing out now and shoot it, it's going to work fine. So, next thing to check for is on the feed tray. You remember that little short Chinese guy in Indiana Jones? They called Short Round. You don't want to know why they called him Short Round? Because he always screwed everything up. You want to know what a short round does? So, if this were a link of shells, these are 308, but they're going to fit for what we're doing. We're going to use them. A short round. Short round would be this.
Not all the way.
And it's going to hit the side when you link through. The most tedious task of loading ammunition is getting these belts properly seated all the way down.
He got one of those little...
The linkers? Okay, good. Usually you can tell by looking right here, the distance between that little piece of link to the tip of the brass. And you can just take a quick look and see, well, that one's definitely short. And that was long, and that one's short, see? I bet you if we push on that tracer, yeah, it bust. Yeah, we pushed it out a little. That's probably not enough to give you an issue, but if you're gonna have people setting up a link, you go load some, you'll load something, you'll load. We got a lot to shoot. We need some help here. Everybody always says, "Oh, that's hard to push. I don't want to push all the way," and you'll always end up with a short round. So it shouldn't make any difference whatsoever, but it's something to watch out for. If you have a linker, you should be able to be okay. As these link through, they're going to hit that stop, and the links are going to come out through here.
Okay.
As you open the gun, if you're done shooting, there could be a round down this T-slot stuck in the barrel. Just because the feed cover's up and the links are out doesn't mean there's one left in the pipe. You could still...
We found that out this weekend. I have a belt fed 9mm that we had issues with. It was...
You had one go off?
Well, no, it didn't go off, but it was, for some reason, it was crushing the links.
Okay.
And then to get it all apart, there was every time there was one live in the pipe.
Well, this is set up to feed from this side.
Okay.
If you're gonna want to, if you're gonna flip and feed from this side, we're gonna have to move this cam here. And these stops. That's gonna go right here. These two are gonna go right here. I have file fit these, so I know they will go in. And then we blasted and parkerized everything, so I know everything's set correctly. There is a slide here that's meant to feed. There's a notch here and a notch here, so this would have to come apart also. I would seriously suggest you just leave it.
I don't plan on changing it. I mean,
Yeah, no.
It's fully capable of setting up.
there's no reason for me to change it.
But some people think, well, all I did is flip the feed tray around. Well, gotta flip these two around, gotta flip this around.
I just wanted this version so it's got the capability. Will I ever use it?
There's
No.
a low position plunger point here. There's a high position plunger point here. All that has to flip around. If you understand what it's got to move, it works great. If you just do one and don't do the other, it's not going to work, and you're going to get to the range. The guy built this thing and it doesn't. It works.
Yeah.
No, it'll be staying in the same configuration.
Chromed feed tray.
Alright.
The chances of you wearing this thing out, the ones that we see that are 80 years old, been through multiple theaters of war in multiple countries, yeah, and they don't really wear. If you could manage to wear one of these things out, good for you. I would really like to see it. I'll buy you a brand new trunnion because I need to keep that one to prove to somebody that it happens. Don't worry about wearing that out. Don't worry about running these disintegrating metal links through here. Do get a nice big magnet on a stick. You can sweep the grass and find all the ones you thought you'd lost. They do add up over time.
Oh yeah.
If you have a big tarp, set it up on the tarp.
They collect all the links.
Yeah, it just makes cleanup that much easier. No point in letting the lawnmower get them. This is going to automatically cam back over. On some guns, 60s, MG42s, 1919s, you'd have to push that back over. Otherwise, you couldn't get this to close down, or you'd bend that.
Okay.
On these, this is
Automatically goes.
yeah, they thought about that and they said, hey, we're tired of bending those things. Because I've had them come through before and I had these things bend up and you can physically see a bend here, and then the gun goes back only so far and it won't cycle. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. So it's something we see, not you. Front sights here. You can make sight corrections by pushing these down and just giving yourself a bump up or down. You can do left or rights here. There's your
Elevation.
this is set in yardage. Now I have shot my personal full auto and it is rattly looser than that, significantly looser than that, and at 600 yards I can keep a full auto burst into about the size of a pickup truck door. And it blows everybody's mind when you do it and you watch the tracers go into a 2 foot by 2 foot plate and like, wait a minute, that's 600 and you kept the 10 round burst into, like, yeah, it'll do it. Just keep it on the tripod. So do make your corrections at 100 yards with this, and then don't try to bump up. All these guys work exactly like they're supposed to. There's no sand or anything in any of these things, in any of this. This was all steel shot blasted. There's no sand because these things bleed sand for days. All little cracks and crevices. But literally everything. I mean, you can even tell the spring's not parked. And it's got new cotter pins, new hardware on everything, new hardware on the side. So you can tell the whole thing came apart. So you're not going to be bleeding sand. You're having sand trapped in these little screw cuts. What else did I miss? It's supposed to. So as we pull to the rear, it will hold back. That's not abnormal. That's supposed to be like that. There's a cut here.
That, yeah, drops it.
So do keep your fingers out of there because it will take your fingernail off in a heartbeat.
And just not to ignorance, there's no special, because I know the belt fed we had, there's tricks and shit when you're trying to, about shutting lids and stuff, not bending stuff. So basically just feed tray in, drop, charge, and go.
Yeah, put the rounds in first. I know somebody's gonna bitch we've got live ammo here, but big boy rules apply. Put the ammunition in, then close the feed tray, then charge the gun.
Perfect.
And that's it. That's pretty much all there is to it. If you want to double check that there's definitely rounds linking in, double charge the gun, charge the gun, charge the gun again. You see a live round fall out, you know there's a good chance it linked in another round. Otherwise the belt would fall off the side of the gun. So
then it's for that purpose, take the link out, charge it again.
No. Put the rounds in, close the feed tray, charge the gun again. That second charge, you should see a round fall out the bottom. A live round fall, D-link out, and the disintegrating link, you should see one section link come out. And that's a pretty good guarantee that you're chambered. We're not in a stress situation, but if you were really on point with this and you need that thing to go off,
you would do it twice.
You do it twice, because I don't have time to like, oh hey.
I guess my point is like, so when all said and done, links are all gone. I'm assuming it's all clear.
Okay, when it's clear, you top cover up,
and you can pull it back to visually see.
Visually see.
All right.
And you know there's no errant round in the feed tray, and there's no in the T slot in the chamber.
All right.
Because you could still set off at least one round. There's been guys that have been killed doing things like that. Playing on a minigun, the guy was in front of the gun trying to get
Oh God, I heard about that one.
And he caught it.
Yeah.
Right in the bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I want to.
Don't ever get in the front of this end.
Yeah.
Stay back here.
No.
So your timing's clear, so we don't have to worry about blowing the top cover up or breaking your finger on the trigger. You know your headspace is clear. You know how to set that.
Yep.
Nothing else should come apart past what we've done. There should be no other components that come apart. You take the bolt apart, take the lock frame apart, and you take the trigger group apart. Nothing else. You shouldn't be taking this apart. You shouldn't take the jacket off or the booster off. It's your gun. You can if you want.
One question I have, and I didn't bring it with, whether or not I use it or not. I have, for if we mount this, I don't know what like the ammo tray.
Yeah.
Do they mount to these?
Yeah, that'll pin on here, and these are going to be in with a friction lock here, a little friction spring. So it does come out. When you pull past this point here, that should go in there. This has a clip.
All right.
See that guy? Mm-hmm. So this is not going to just fling off on you. If this was a 1919, that would go. That's gone. It's in the sand, or it's in the snow, or it's just gone. So that's supposed to stay captive enough that you can put the can on there, and then get that lined up.
And just push that back in.
Yeah. Now these go in from this direction because everything goes this way. Your charging handle is reciprocating on this side. If this thing goes back into your charging handle, gun's going to be down.
All right.
You don't want that.
Perfect.